Let me start with the most surprising thing I've learned in over 20 years of working as a relationship psychologist. Most men think they know exactly what women want, and most men are wrong. Not because they're bad partners, not because they don't care, but because nobody ever sat them down and explained it clearly. There's no manual for this. No one taught you, and honestly, most women don't even say it out loud, even when they feel it deeply. I'm Dr. Claire Dawson, and I've spent more than 2 decades working with couples right here in Canada. From Vancouver to Halifax, from young newlyweds to people in their 60s and 70s who've been together for 40 years and still feel like strangers in the same bed. I've sat across from thousands of men who genuinely wanted to do better, to be better, but simply didn't know how to reach their partner anymore. Today, I'm going to change that for you. In the next few minutes, I'm going to show you 7 specific places on a woman's body, places that go far beyond the physical, places that, when touched and respect, unlock something emotional, something deep. And I'm going to tell you right now, most of you will be surprised because none of these 7 places are what you're probably thinking. Here's the thing I want you to understand before we get into it. The female brain doesn't separate physical touch from the emotional meaning. For a woman, especially a woman in her 40s, 50s, or 60s, touch is never just touch. Every time you reach out and make contact, her nervous system is asking a question. Is this safe? Does he see me? Does he care? If the answer is yes, her whole body relaxes. She opens up. She moves towards you. If the answer is no, or even just, I'm not sure, she pulls back, not because she doesn't love you, but because her body is doing what it was designed to do. Protect her emotional self first. I've heard this from women over and over again. Clears throat. One of my clients, I'll call her Patricia, 58 years old, been married for 31 years. She told me something I'll never forget. She said, Claire, I don't need him to be perfect. I just need him to slow down long enough to actually feel me, not just touch me, feel me. That sentence right there, that's the whole lesson. So, let's get into it. 7 places, 7 opportunities to completely change the way your partner responds to you. Let's go. The first place is the back of the neck, right at the base of the hairline where it begins. This spot is one of the most underappreciated areas on a woman's body. Most men walk right past it, but this is where tension lives. This is where stress settles after a long day of carrying the weight of everything. Work, family, worry, all of it. When a woman is stressed or disconnected, that tension pulls right here. Now, here's what I want you to do. Not aggressively, not as a massage that says, let me fix you. Just the lightest touch, 2 or 3 fingertips, slow, no pressure, just warmth and presence. When you do this, something chemical happens. Her nervous system begins to downshift. Her breathing slows. The cortisol, that's the stress hormone, starts to ease. And in its place, oxytocin begins to rise. You might have heard oxytocin called the bonding hormone or the trust hormone. That's exactly what it is. And this spot behind the neck is one of the fastest ways to trigger it. She won't necessarily say anything. She might just go quiet. She might lean into it slightly. That silence isn't emptiness. That's her body saying yes. The second place is the soft skin between the shoulder blades. Think of this spot as her shield. It's the part of her back she can't easily reach herself. It's the part that carries invisible weight. When a woman is guarded, when she's built walls, consciously or not, this is where those walls live in her body. Now, I'm not talking about a deep tissue massage here. I'm talking about something much simpler and much more powerful. Just placing your hand there, flat, warm, still, no pressure, no agenda. When you do that, you're not just touching her back. You're communicating something that words can't always say. I've got you. I'm here. You don't have to carry this alone. I've seen this one gesture completely shift the energy in a relationship. I worked with a couple in Toronto, both in their early 60s, both retired, both spending all day in the same house, and somehow feeling miles apart. The husband, a guy named Robert, started doing this one thing every evening when his wife was standing in the kitchen after dinner. He'd walk up behind her and rest his hand between her shoulder blades. No words, just presence. 3 weeks later, she told me, I don't know what he's doing differently, but I feel like he's actually here again. That's clears throat the power of this spot. The third place is the hands, specifically the fingers and the palm. Now, I know what you're thinking. Holding hands, that's the big secret. Hear me out. There's a difference between grabbing someone's hand and actually holding it. There's a difference between a quick squeeze and tracing your thumb slowly across her palm. The hands are deeply connected to a woman's emotional world. Her hands are how she gives, how she creates, how she expresses care. When you hold them with genuine attention, she feels understood in a way that goes straight to her heart. Try this. Next time you're sitting together, watching TV, having coffee, doesn't matter. Take her hand, but instead of just holding it, use your thumb to slowly trace along her fingers one by one, or draw small, slow circles on her palm. No rush, no destination. 535. Research out of McGill University has shown that this type of slow, deliberate touch on the hands activates the same neural pathways as emotional affirmation. In plain terms, holding her hand thoughtfully communicates the same thing as telling her she matters. You don't have to say a word. Your hands say it for you. The fourth place is the small hollow just below the jawline, directly behind the ear. This one surprises people every time I mention it. It's not a spot most men ever think about. It's subtle. It's easy to miss. And that's exactly why it's so powerful. This area is extraordinarily sensitive, packed with nerve endings, but it's also a spot that only gets touched when there's real closeness. It requires you to be near her, present, focused on her, not on where things are going. When you're sitting close together and you gently brush your fingertips along this spot, not with pressure, just warmth, you're doing two things at once. You're triggering a physical response that sends a wave of calm through her body, and you're sending an emotional signal. I notice the small things about you. I'm paying attention. Women feel this one differently than almost any other touch. It doesn't feel aggressive or demanding. It feels like being truly seen. And being truly seen, that's one of the deepest needs a woman has in a long-term relationship. One thing I always tell the men I work with, if she doesn't lean into it immediately, don't push. This spot requires trust. If the trust is still being rebuilt, just be patient. Over time, as your presence becomes more consistent, she will. The fifth place is the inner thigh near the knee, far from any intimate area. Now, I want to be really clear about this one because the placement matters enormously. We're talking about the soft skin on the inside of the leg close to the knee, not higher, not rushing anywhere. There, this area carries a lot of emotional weight for women, often without them even being consciously aware of it. A respectful, unhurried touch here communicates something very specific. Closeness without pressure, desire without demand. The key is rhythm. Slow, even, like you have nowhere to be and nowhere to go. Like this moment is complete in itself. I've had women tell me that this kind of touch, when done with patience and respect, felt more intimate than anything else their partner had done in years, because it said something powerful without saying a word. I want to be close to you. I'm not rushing you. I'm just here. That message in a long-term relationship, especially as we get older, it can feel like water in a desert. The sixth place is the lower back, that hollow between the waist and the hips. The lower back is the physical center of a woman's body. It supports everything. It carries everything. And in most relationships, it goes completely untouched. When you place your hand gently on a woman's lower back, especially when you're standing behind her and your chest meets her back, something remarkable happens neurologically. The brain interprets that position as protection, as stability, as someone saying without words, I'm behind you. Literally and figuratively, this isn't about control. It's about containment in the best sense, the kind that makes someone feel safe enough to let their guard down. I want you to think about the last time you stood close to your partner from behind and just rested your hand on her lower back. Not going anywhere, just there. If you can't remember the last time you did that, that's worth noticing. Try it this week, not as a technique, as a genuine expression of presence. Stand close, place your hand there, breathe. Let her feel that you're not in a hurry, that you're not trying to get somewhere, that this just being near her is enough for you right now. The seventh place is the most surprising one. And I'll tell you right now, it's not what most men expect. It's not the chest. It's the lower abdomen, the area around and just below the navel. This is the most emotionally significant area on a woman's body, and it's the one that gets overlooked most often. Men either skip right past it or only ever touch it in a way that signals they're headed somewhere else. Both of those are missed opportunities. The lower abdomen is where a woman holds her deepest sense of self. There's real neuroscience here. This area has a dense concentration of vagal nerve connections, which means it's directly wired to the body's emotional regulation system. When this area is touched with genuine care and slowness, it doesn't just feel physical. It feels like being held at the very core of who she is. I always describe it this way to the couples I work with. Imagine you're holding something irreplaceable, something fragile and precious. You wouldn't grab it. You wouldn't rush. You'd move slowly with both hands, with complete attention. That's how to touch this place. A warm hand placed gently and with zero urgency on her lower abdomen. This signals something that words rarely accomplish. I trust you with all of me. And I hope you trust me with all of you. When a woman feels that her whole body responds, not because of technique, because of truth. Now, let me pull all of this together. 7 places: the back of the neck, the space between the shoulder blades, the hands, the hollow behind the ear, the inner thigh near the knee, the lower back, and the lower abdomen. None of these are secret. None of them are complicated. But I guarantee that most of you are not using them, not with the intention and the slowness they deserve. And here's why that matters. As 11-5 we get older, as relationships grow longer, a strange thing tends to happen. We stop reaching out, not because we've stopped caring, but because the daily routine takes over, because we assume our partner knows, because we're tired or distracted, or we just forget that 11-21, the small gestures are actually the big ones. But women feel that absence. They feel it in their body before they feel it in their mind. They wake up one day and realize they feel lonely, not because their partner isn't there, but because their partner stopped touching them, stopped noticing them, stopped communicating through the language of physical presence. I think about a man I'll call David, 67, retired, based out of Edmonton. His wife had been increasingly distant for about 2 years. He came to see me, convinced relationship was just running out of steam. Maybe this is just what happens. I asked him a simple question. When's the last time you touched her without wanting something in return? He thought about it for a long time. I can't remember, he finally said. That was the whole answer. 12:09. We talked about these 7 places. He went home. He started small. Just a hand on the back of her neck while she was reading. Nothing more, no words, no agenda. She looked up at him, and for the first time in a long time, she smiled at him the way she used to. 12:25, 2 months later, he came back in and she told me last week that she feels like I've come back to her. And honestly, I think I have. That's not magic. That's not a trick. That's simply the power of consistent, intentional, respectful, physical presence. 12:41. Here's what I want you to take away from this. The problem in most long-term relationships isn't a lack of love, it's a lack of language. And I don't mean spoken language, I mean the language of touch. Slow, unhurried, genuine contact that says, I see you, I'm here, you matter to me. 13:01 women, especially women in midlife and beyond, don't respond to urgency, they respond to attention. They respond to being noticed in the details. They respond to a hand that moves like it has all the time in the world, because being with her is the destination, not the starting point. And here's what the research consistently shows. And I've seen this play out in my own practice over and over again. Women have, on average, significantly more sensitive skin nerve receptors than men, particularly in the areas we talked about today. The neck, behind the ear, the fingers, and the lower abdomen. These zones aren't just physically responsive, they're emotionally wired. Touch in these areas triggers oxytocin release, yes, but more than that, they trigger a felt sense of safety. And safety is the foundation of intimacy. You can't have one without the other. A study done up at the University of British Columbia looked at touch patterns in long-term couples and found that the couples who maintained regular non-sexual physical contact, the kind that wasn't leading anywhere, just present and caring, reported significantly higher levels of emotional connection and relationship satisfaction, even when other areas of their relationship had challenges. The couples who had stopped that kind of contact, they consistently described feeling like roommates. Don't be roommates with the person you love. So Here's where I want to leave you today. Start small. Tonight, if your partner is nearby, walk up to her and place your hand on the back of her neck. Don't say anything. Don't expect anything. Just let your hand be warm and still. See what happens. Tomorrow, try the lower back, or take her hand and hold it slowly, deliberately, like you mean it. These aren't techniques, they're expressions of care. And the difference between a technique and an expression of care is everything, because she will feel the difference immediately. Women always do. The warmth in your hands is sometimes worth more than 1,000 well-meaning words. The touch that has no agenda, that asks for nothing, that simply says, I'm here and you're the reason. That kind of touch has the power to bring someone back to you, to bring you back to each other. It's never too late to start. I've seen couples in their 70s completely transform their relationship with these simple shifts. I've seen women who had emotionally checked out start leaning back in. I've seen men who thought it was too late realize it wasn't even close to too late. You're watching this video. That already tells me something about you. You want to do better. You want to understand. You want your relationship to feel alive again, and it can. It will if you're willing to slow down, show up, and let your hands say what your words sometimes can't. Take care of each other. I mean that. If this resonated with you, please subscribe and hit the notification bell so you don't miss what's coming next. Every week, I 933s add a note, jump to 1547, share real practical insights from over 20 years in relationship psychology. No fluff, no filler, just what actually works. I'm genuinely grateful you are here today. See you in the next one.